before I discovered the Camino, I was heavily, in inverted commas, an important businessman in Dublin and the property world. I was a surveyor living in an utterly materialistic life. And, I stumbled on the Camino by mistake, didn't know where I was. I went off with my family because I was on a sort of a mid-career break. And what I realized was it was actually, my family all thought it was, and friends and peers thought it was a breakdown, but actually it was a breakthrough into another reality. And the Camino helped me to deepen and understand that aspect of myself, which I was unaware of before that. So I owe, a complete reorientation of my life to the Camino. And I believe it to be an incredibly powerful, transformative agent in the world today when transformation is so much required. When all is said and done, we need a new consciousness. Well, then that arises, well, how do you get a new consciousness? Well, it is my view that we get a new consciousness by letting go the old consciousness. So there's an aspect of dying, which is important in the pilgrimage journey. We have to let go the old ways, the old ideas, some of the old belief systems in order for something new to arise. So I owe the Camino a complete change and in my own life, and I'm eternally grateful for that. And I see that change happening in a lot of other people's lives as well. Well, I would say spend at least the same amount of time on inner preparation as outer preparation. So usually when we're taking time out to go on a pilgrimage, if you're starting in, it could be 3, 4, 5 weeks. If you start in Budapest, you'd need 3 months. So take time before, and it's always difficult because we're always usually at the height of a business trying to close our affairs to allow us to go off, to take time out. But I would really heavily recommend it. Take time to really ask some questions. Why am I going? What am I trying to achieve out of this? On an inner level, and indeed on an outer level, we might be wanting to lose weight. But that's only one aspect of the pilgrimage. We might be wanting to discover the wines of France or Spain, or discover the beautiful landscape that we walk through. But it's really important also, I believe, to really, if we wanted to become a pilgrimage, we have to take time to prepare inner questions, those deep inner existential questions. And how we do that is up to us. There's many wonderful websites we can do it, but take time, which we often don't allow ourselves to do, just to reflect in the quiet. Why am I doing this? What do I hope to achieve out of this on an inner level, on a transformational level? And allow some ideas to bubble to the surface. I do in all the guidebooks, there's a questionnaire there, which is prompts people to, have an idea of what, some ideas to reflect on those inner promptings that we will get. Because after all, if we're really looking for change in our lives, it will really only come when we allow time for the inner changes to happen. I mean, I spent many years at a place called the Findhorn Foundation that sort of, had different programs. And it was always fascinating how, after, people would rush home after a program. People tend to rush home after the Camino, they've got a flight to catch or whatnot. And if we don't allow time, either at the end of the Camino, during the Camino, and when we get home, to allow the insights that we got, we forget them. 6 months later, or I can't remember. Well, that's an awful pity, because that transformation, those insights that come, the inspiration that comes, the hints, the changes, we need to take them seriously and allow time to really let them percolate and become part of the new who we are, the new reality. And of course, I believe that is one of the great gifts of the various associations around the world. The American Pilgrims on the Camino is one such wonderful thing. You've got all these chapters all around America where people can, if you like, support each other to remember, to recall, to come together, to remind us of the insights that we got, and also to give us the courage to follow the new directions. Often a new idea comes up. Yes, I need to do that. Yes, I need to change this. And then we get back home, and then there's that awful phrase that comes from when we get back home. Oh, welcome back to the real world. And then all the sort of pressure to fall back into consensus reality. Consensus reality is absolute sheer madness. Look at what consensus reality looks like at the moment in the world. Who on earth could want to hang on to that consensus? We have to let it go and find a new consciousness. So that would be my suggestion, recommendation for people going out on the Camino. Really find an inner purpose for going out and hold on to it, write it down, recall it, remember it, and let it deepen, because it will deepen as we play with the ideas that we go with. It's not static, it's not cast in stone, it evolves. Let it evolve into the new you. I've been walking the Caminos now for a quarter of a century, and they've become my life. Not only the Caminos in terms of the physical walk that we do, but my life is a Camino. I really believe that profoundly. What else is it? It's a spiritual journey. It's a journey of awakening. I'm on it now, talking to you. Whatever happens, I'm on the Camino, and knowing that, I can never not be on the Camino. And I think what you're referring to is something that I shared with you earlier, and I'm very happy to share it with a wider audience. But essentially, I was diagnosed with 3 forms of cancer, and last April I was told that I had only a few months to live. And so I was fine with that. The journey always comes to an end. I've had a good innings, but I didn't really believe the oncologists, and because I believe that to a large extent I make my own weather and my own health. So I decided I was going to walk the Caminos, and I unhitched from all the chemotherapy and various treatments because they weren't working for me anyway. They're making me rather sick. And I said, I'm off to walk the Caminos. And they were all rather fascinated by that. I said, oh, how lovely. And weren't expecting to see me back. And, as I walked, I found incredible healing. And, recently, my oncologist said, well, we can't understand. You're an enigma, they say. We don't understand it. But what they don't understand is the healing power of nature, of our own intention, of our own mindset. And, I will keep walking the Caminos. I will die in harness. What a wonderful, what else would I do? I don't want to be plugged into treatments if I don't need it. My health has come back. I've never felt stronger. And when I arrived having walked from Lisbon through to Santiago, my family joined me there to walk out to Finisterre for a sort of a final goodbye for granddad and dad. And it was wonderful. The whole grandchildren, we all went out to Finisterre and had a wonderful sort of celebration there as we got used to the idea of death and dying as part of, the life cycle. So I've said my goodbyes, and, I don't know, maybe I'm going to be here for another 10 or 20 years. I don't know, but right now, I do believe that a large part of my healing, I can put it down to nothing else other than being in God's fresh air, walking an overtly spiritual route, meeting with other pilgrims, all asking the deep, big existential questions of why we're here, where we're going, what's it all about. I feel so alive and so privileged to be living at this time. Now, wouldn't like to be starting again. I tell you, my heavens gracious me, the future that the younger generations face, the sort of the legacy that we're leaving behind is pretty dire in many ways. I do believe that the Caminos has an incredible power of healing, but I referred now here just a moment ago to physical healing. But actually, the real healing, I believe, is in the mind, is in the consciousness. That's where the real healing comes. The body, we have to drop these bodies at some stage. And I do believe that the Caminos is a very powerful vehicle to understand and to cope with and understand the dying process. we have these bodies, they're very fickle and frail, and they're very impermanent, and at some stage we have to drop our physical bodies. But that doesn't mean to say that that life doesn't go on. There's an eternal life and there's a physical life, and there's a physical Camino, and there's a Camino that goes way beyond this realm that we're in, into the subtle realm. So, that's bringing the subject, rather deeper than maybe than I had imagined or intended. But it's all part of a wonderful tapestry of living and of life. And, there's so many of the great wisdom teachings tell us that we can't live fully and until we've embraced the understanding that these physical frames need to pass on and need to die. And it's my belief that part of the efficacy and the part of the Caminos is to learn how to die to our old belief systems. That's so necessary, I believe. We have to die to our old self, this persona that we built up, this image, this famous guidebook writer, this written lots of books, all this sort of drama, this that we've built up as to who we are. But we're much more than what we present, on the screen here in front of us. We're much deeper than that. Who am I? That's the classic pilgrim question. Who am I? That is, who am I beyond this physical frame, beyond this persona, beyond the guidebook writer, beyond the grandfather and the father, beyond the son whose parents have gone? Who am I? Really, who am I? And that's a wonderful question to ask. And indeed, in some traditions, it's suggested that in some of the wisdom traditions, even in the Western wisdom tradition, it's suggested that that question should never be answered. It's not meant to be answered. It's meant to dissolve the questioner. When the ego as the questioner is let go, the truth of who we are will reveal itself. Now, I love that concept because so long as I am attached to who I am in this physical frame and with my identity and so on and so forth, so long as I hold on to that, the truth of who I am beyond it could never emerge. Like Narcissus, we'd rather fallen in love with this image of ourselves and our bodies. And so we collectively in the world, generally speaking, that's who we think we are. But that's a very limited view of our identity. I believe that Camino is one of the vehicles we have simply because, not simply, but because it requires us to walk. You can't walk from Saint Jean to Santiago in less than 5 or 6 weeks or something. They all take this time and where we can get beyond the image of who we are and open up to something much bigger, much more exciting. We start to open up to divinity, to the divine. I mean, where do we come from? And then when we're together, we can feed off each other and ask these questions. And that's, again, one of the huge, powerful aspects of the Camino. Everybody on the Camino, we can talk like this on day one on the Camino. And wherever you are on the Camino, not only do we have permission to talk deeply like this, I believe it's actually our duty. Yes, we need to talk about the weather because we need to know whether we've got to get a poncho out in case of the shower coming or something like that. But really why we're on the Camino is to ask each other these deep existential questions. I believe that to be so. And that's why I believe the Caminos are so incredibly powerful, because, everyone's chewing and mulling over these questions, or, somewhere in the background, those questions are there bubbling to the surface, and we can encourage each other to bring them to the forefront. And in that, we, start to discover a much bigger self than, self-discovery. What is the Camino? Somebody asked me, what's the Camino? I would say it's a journey of self-discovery. That is a discovery of a self that we've forgotten that we forgot about. We've fallen into identifying with the small self, the body self, the persona. But beyond that is this enormous self with a capital S. There's a lovely quote from Thomas Merton. It's in I will put it in one of the guidebooks, and I just put on, what could we gain by traveling to the moon if we are not able to cross the abyss that separates us from ourselves? This is the most important of all voyages of discovery, and without it, all the rest are not only useless, but disastrous. That's Thomas Merton. Now, I like to read that regularly. It's fascinating. He's asking us to go so deep. I love a lot of his writing, but that one really catches my imagination because it talks about a journey and a journey of discovery and of self-discovery, and that's what the Camino is. What else is it? It's not a hike through Spain. Oh yes, it's a hike through Spain, true, but that's not its true purpose. Yes, we discover a beautiful landscape. Yes, we discover beautiful people and a new culture and beautiful wines and food and whatever, and folklore and culture. But primarily, it's that journey of self-discovery. And that's, I believe, why the Camino is so popular.